When it comes to video games, we all had to start somewhere. Whether that somewhere rests within the 80s, when 8-bit games were all you really had, or maybe something recently within the past 10 years, if you're a younger viewer or something. My first game was actually Super Mario 64. All I really knew how to do at the time was just like run around aimlessly in that dirt area in the bomb battlefield. I mean, I was only 2, so I couldn't exactly like read the mission names. But around a year later, when I was in preschool, my older brother gave me his old PS2 with tons of games, which ranged from quality titles such as Jak and Daxter all the way down to Shrek Super Party. Out of all the PS2 titles, there was one that stuck out to me, and it would spark a sort of obsession that to this very day I still have. It introduced me to my personal favorite video game series. This game was the original Ratchet Clank from 2002, not to be confused with the 2016 PS4 title with the same name. But I think I'll save that for another video. It was developed by Insomniac Games, who you might know for the Spyro the Dragon series, or maybe even Resistance or Sunset Overdrive. This game had it all for younger me, an awesome sci-fi setting, likable characters, and of course, cool guns. This game was rated T for teens, so whether or not I should have been playing it at 3 is up for debate. But with the release of the HD PS3 collection to celebrate the game's 10th anniversary, they changed the rating to E10+. It's likely that this would have been the rating for the game's original release, but the E10+ rating wasn't a thing until 2 years after it originally came out. Anyway, ever since I first played this game and its many sequels, it's left an impression on me, which is why, partly in celebration of the new Ratchet game being announced for PS5 not too long ago, I'll be reviewing the mainline Ratchet games. All in a row? Probably not. I have some other videos planned that I'll kind of squeeze in between these uploads, but I can't promise I won't upload 2 in a row at least once. Although, after the first 4, I plan to take a break from them for a while, to come back with the PS3 games at a later time. This will hopefully lead up nicely to the release of Rift Apart, so I can give that game the same proper review treatment as well. As for the other Ratchet games, I either don't have them and don't have plans to buy them, or I do and barely played them. So yeah, maybe someday I'll cover Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank, but for now I'm going to leave it out of this little Ratchet marathon, I guess I'll call it. Keep in mind that even if you aren't into the Ratchet and Clank games, that's totally fine. These review videos are not only made to cater to fans of these games, but also to introduce you guys, my lovely audience, to new, awesome games. I'll also have spoiler warnings just as I did for my Klonoa review, so don't worry about unintentionally spoiling yourself about, say, the final boss or something. I've been wanting to do this video for quite a while now, so it feels great to finally have this HDMI splitter so I can get past the PS3's stupid ass HDCP protection measures. Sure, I do have the original PS2 release, but the footage I get from capturing the PS2 looks awful, and I want to give you guys the best experience possible. Albeit the HD collection has quite a few graphical bugs. Nothing game-breaking by any means, but sometimes stuff that wasn't supposed to be in frame due to the original release's 4:3 aspect ratio are now in frame and just frozen there for a second. If you notice this stuff, just remember that it's the port's fault. Oh yeah, and this happened to me at one point.
Hi there, Fuzzball.
Anyway, I'll stop with the intro. I think it's finally time to get into why I love this series so much. So let's dive right in and talk about Ratchet & Clank 1. The game opens up to one of our main characters, Ratchet, on his home planet of Veldin. He can also be seen on the title screen, which presumably is showing the prior night. He's tirelessly working on a ship, but he's missing the robotic ignition system, and without it, he's unable to fly. We then are taken to planet Cortu, where there's a huge robot factory. But the machine malfunctions, and out with these bigger and more menacing robots comes a tiny one. Likely because he's a defect, other robots on the planet chase him off and try to destroy him. They escape in ships, and they apparently know how to fly already, I guess, and they shoot down the little robot ship above planet Veldin, where the ship crashes. After Ratchet, being intrigued, goes to the crash site to find out what happened, he finds the little robot and takes him for parts, I would think. After he opens his eyes, though,
interesting.
He shows an infobot, which we'll see more of later. He found this infobot mere seconds after he was born, by the way. As the name implies, they display information. This one shows the main villain that we'll see throughout the game, Chairman Drek. He explains his ultimate plan to steal parts from other planets to build the perfect planet for his people, the Blarg, since their home planet was polluted. This is also where the game's sense of humor begins to introduce itself.
And if you don't like it, you can take your whiny, sniveling, snot-nosed populations, form a line behind me, and kiss my... We're still on?
The robot also reveals that he could help Ratchet start his ship, since it required a robotic ignition system. With the robot wanting to find galaxy-renowned superhero Captain Quark, and Ratchet not only wanting to stop Drek, but also finally get out there and explore the rest of the galaxy with a ship, we're given some motives right off the bat for our characters, which is nice. During their flight to their first destination, planet Nivalis, to stop an invasion, they tell each other their names, and with the robot's overly long serial number and him accidentally making a clank sound against the ship, the name is decided.
The name's Ratchet.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, sir.
You got a name?
My serial number is V54296.
Oops. I'll just call you Clank for short.
The two crash into a hail on the planet because Ratchet just sucks at flying for some reason, but is perfectly fine at it later on. As the game continues, we meet these wacky and fun characters. Whether they're incompetent, funny, or whatever, most of them have one thing in common. They all want to get paid. All of the jokes in the game are centered around consumerism and the blindness these people display due to their priorities being only to make a quick buck. It's pretty entertaining to watch.
But that prize is ours from the captain. That's not fair.
Too bad, life's not fair.
While not money grubbing, Captain Quark is especially humorous and has become an absolute series mainstay. He's made out to be this amazing superhero, but as we see more of his character, it's clear he's no more than an overweight dude in spandex just wanting people to like him. But ironically enough, he's just kind of a douchebag throughout the game, getting in the way of Ratchet and Clank's travels. Ratchet and Clank's relationship is a rocky one. Throughout the course of the story, after a few mishaps, the two quarrel and can never seem to get along after a certain point. Ratchet's an uptight, tough guy who'd shoot you if you looked at him funny, and Clank, while much calmer and more optimistic, is quite naive, having not lived his life for very long.
Well, I find the fact that he has a spring where his leg should be to be quite puzzling.
And why do you think that is?
Possibly an injury incurred while battling evil?
This isn't the real Captain Quark, you numbskull. It's a robot.
The fact that they're polar opposites really doesn't help. I get the impression that a lot of people hate Ratchet in this game, which is definitely understandable, but character development is a thing in storytelling, so I don't really think it's fair to dismiss Ratchet as a bad character in this game just because of him being a dick. I've definitely heard this complaint before outside of just Ratchet and Clank, and I'll just never really understand it. In the end though, the two stop their fighting and begin to understand each other. And it is pretty satisfying to see these two finally become really good friends after so much bicker.
Hey, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I sincerely doubt it.
You know, this time I am thinking what you're thinking.
Throughout the game, you'll obtain a few different ships to use to fly to other planets and sometimes space stations and ships. The variety that Ratchet & Clank offers with its level design is remarkable. You go through cool, bright futuristic levels, or some may have a bit of a darker or grosser color scheme, and there's also the desolate, seemingly hopeless planets that have seen brighter days. Nowadays, with my many playthroughs of the game, I know the levels like the back of my hand, but when I was a little kid first playing this game, the sheer amount of fun and interesting exploration this game presented to me absolutely blew me away. Each planet usually has a few paths to take to lead to different infobots and other collectibles, which we'll get into later. You feel really rewarded, even if it's just an infobot to progress the story, because as I said earlier, the game's humor is on point, and the cutscenes you get to see from these infobots are a prime example of this.
The benign marine life will welcome you to the big blue world under the sea.
The planets in Ratchet & Clank build intrigue as you go through them. Planet Orxon, which is actually the Blarg's original polluted planet, is an absolutely awesome example of this idea. At first, you can only explore as Clank due to the air quality being so bad. You'd think you can only explore as Clank, but later on you get the O2 mask, which not only allows Ratchet to breathe infinitely underwater, but it also allows him to traverse Orxon on foot. On top of this already really cool idea of seeing an already explored level from an entirely different perspective, you can now explore new areas and see things you couldn't before. If you look close in this one bomb section here, you'll see what looks to be a mouth or something from some weird creature. If you have the Visibomb gun, you can blow up these panels along the inside of its body, leading to another part of the level. You can go there and go through its gross looking body to get a collectible, and also see the mouth of the creature up close. What could this thing be? I don't know, man. This is the Blarg's homeworld, but you see these weird lobster enemies and some other blue things throughout the level. But why? Again, I don't know. And that's what makes this level and many of the other ones so cool. Ratchet & Clank's level design gets your mind going, and the scale of them in comparison to Insomniac's previous title, Spyro the Dragon, is very impressive. Level design is only half of the core of the game. The things you do and collect in these levels are what really takes the planets to the next level. Apart from the game's main collectible, bolts, which acts as a form of currency that you use to buy things, there are gold bolts. There's 40 in the game, and in each of the 20-something planets the game has to offer, there can be anywhere from 1 to 4. On top of this, we have skill points. One thing that kinda sucks is the game doesn't tell you which ones you have until after you beat the game. You get these for just doing random tasks. What these gold bolts and skill points do, we'll get into later on. There's also some other random collectibles and fetch quest items. For example, this guy in the sewers of Jawai Resort on planet Poketaru was trying to create a mind control device.
You will find raritanium for me.
No, I will not.
But it didn't exactly work out. He did, however, get it to give you a discount at the vendors in the game, so he's willing to trade it for some raritanium. On planet Hoven, you find some dude with a busted drill, which you help out by... yeah. He gives you raritanium in return, and there you go. There's also the bolt grabber and mapper, which allow you to pick up bolts within a wider range and allow you to find secrets marked by green on the map, respectively. And then there's this code bot that's here out of nowhere for no reason that you use for literally 1 gold bolt. Kind of a strange inclusion, gotta admit. Look at that T-pose too, my gosh. Moving away from collectibles, Ratchet's moveset does feel pretty nice. You can even get a hoverboard and do sick tricks, dude, it's cool. You know, every early 2000s game just had to have a cool skateboard type thing, so why the hell not? In this first game, he does feel a little stiffer and slow than he does in the later games, but it's something you get used to after like the first 10 minutes. Clank is the star of the show though, extending Ratchet's moveset by letting him long jump and high jump with his helipack and thruster pack, and also letting him swim fast as hell underwater with the hydro pack. Sometimes even play as Clank. It's kinda boring. These segments are just too slow paced for me to call them fun. It's kinda like Pikmin, I guess, commanding little robots, but these are still the worst parts of the game in my opinion. At least they're pretty short-lived. There's even brief moments of the game where Clank can become giant and absolutely destroy other enemies. He's a bit too slow for my liking, but still fun. But in the end, Ratchet's moveset and stuff isn't even that important. It's needed, of course, but the absolute core of Ratchet & Clank's standard gameplay comes from, of course, the weapons, purchasable from the galaxy's main weapons provider, Gadgetron. Ratchet & Clank 1 has 15 weapons and 11 gadgets. I'm just gonna go over them all in order because they're all so different that it's hard for me to sum them all up with a sentence or two. Okay, before we actually get into the weapons, I should mention the wrench too. You can use it as a melee weapon, but you also use it to turn these bolt cranks occasionally. You know, standard stuff like that. It's still actually pretty good as a weapon in this game, so I thought I would bring it up. But let's get into the actual weapons now. Starting with the weapons, the bomb glove. This is your starting weapon. You throw bombs and that's it. It's pretty good for the first couple of levels, but it sort of sucks, so I don't use it very much. The Pyrocitor is the game's flamethrower, and it's pretty good. On some enemies near the end, it's just kind of alright, but it's amazing for crowd control during some segments. The Blaster is a standard pistol weapon. It's actually one of the most OP weapons in the game. You can wipe out a lot of enemies with just a few shots, and you feel like a badass while doing it. The Agents of Doom. Another glove, but this time you throw out a little robotic egg, and out of it comes these little baby robots that explode when they hit enemies. Pretty awesome idea for a weapon, and the damage output is pretty good throughout the whole game. The Mine Glove. I usually don't even buy this one because it's just sort of okay. If enemies come close, the mines will go toward them and blow up. That is unless you've got the Taunter. You could use it on the Mine Glove to move them toward a nearby enemy. On its own, the Taunter is pretty bad. It uses no ammo and just emits noise to taunt your foes, but it is useful at a few specific spots, and it's even needed for a gold bolt and a skill point. Speaking of weapons that use no ammo, the Suck Cannon. You suck up smaller enemies and shoot them back out. As the name implies, it sucks. The Devastator is the rocket launcher of the game. It's pretty good, even if later rocket launchers in the series are better. The Walloper. It's this boxing glove or something, and you punch with it. I get the impression that this one's a bit overhated. Yeah, it's useless against the flying enemies and ships and stuff, but against small and even sometimes big on-foot enemies, it packs a punch. Literally. The Visibomb. Stand far away and shoot out a rocket. Fly it anywhere you want and blow shit up. It's really damn good, but the ammo costs a lot, so don't use it excessively. The decoy glove, another one that I never really buy. It distracts enemies into fighting a decoy of yourself so you have some room to breathe. It's like okay, I guess. The drone device. This was actually originally going to be a glove, but considering the amount of glove weapons in the game, I could see why they decided not to do that. It's also just okay, but I think it's pretty dope how it could shield you from incoming bullets. The Tesla Claw. Possibly my favorite weapon in the game, the Tesla Claw absolutely zaps everything in its path. It's probably even a bit more OP than the blaster, but this is one of the most expensive weapons in the game, so it's justified. The Morpho Ray, oh boy. This is the start of a trend you'll see throughout every Ratchet & Clank game. A gun that turns enemies into animals. In Ratchet 1's case, it's chickens. It doesn't work very well unless the enemies are small, but come on, how could you not love this idea? And finally, the Rhino. What's that, you may ask? From this black market salesman, it's a whopping 150,000 bolts.
Rhino for your robot. Trade you.
Well, okay.
Ratchet!
I'm kidding.
But when you get your hands on it, all that grinding was worth it. Or in my case, all that cheating was worth it, since you can clip through a wall and then go over here and yeah, make bank. We can't forget about the gadgets too. These are to fulfill other actions like getting from point A to point B. The swing shot. This thing is a series staple, and it's not hard to immediately see why. It's just so damn fun to swing around. I wouldn't mind an entire game dedicated to swing shot challenges. Not surprising that Insomniac would later go on to make the Spider-Man PS4 game, huh? The Trespasser. Another Ratchet trend is to have a puzzle gadget, typically used to open doors or activate shit. I think the Trespasser is the best puzzle gadget in the series. It's just such a cool idea, lining up these lasers to the thingies. The Hydra Displacer. Ever wanted to transfer water from one place to another? Your wish is granted, I guess. This one's pretty cool. The Hologuise. It disguises you as a robot to get you through a whole 2 sections near the final few levels. A bit underutilized, but still a cool idea, even if you move slow as hell with it. One of the optional gadgets is the Metal Detector, which lets you find bullets hidden underground if a little icon appears at the bottom right of the screen. Pretty unnecessary, but still a fine addition. Another optional gadget is the Gadgetron PDA. This allows you to buy ammo anywhere you want, but ammo will cost quite a bit more than it usually does. Helpful in a pinch, but you'll never really be in one except for the final boss, which is the only time I find myself using it. The final optional gadget, not counting Clank's Hydro Pack, is the Sonic Summoner. If you find these weird antenna things on the game's planets, you can take it out after getting it from this dude, and then make this little helpful shooter dude come out and help you. I find he dies pretty quick, so it's unlikely to get too much use out of him, but it's still a pretty cool feature, and there are a decent amount of opportunities to use it. As for the other 2 helmets, the O2 mask is pretty obvious, and I also already went over it. The pilot's helmet allows you to pilot this jet plane during a few sections throughout the game. On top of that, it looks badass as hell, so sometimes I just equip it for the hell of it. And to cap it all off, we have the Magna Boots, which allow you to traverse magnetic rails, which is pretty cool, albeit you move slow as shit. And there's also the Grind Boots, which allow you to grind on grind rails. Pretty damn cool. Both of these boots would become series staples as well. Wow, I just spent a long damn time just talking about weapons and gadgets, huh? It really is commendable just how much this game has to offer in the gameplay department, and it'd only get more crazy and ambitious with the game's sequels. Y'all might know just how much I like to ramble on about a game's music. I'm not really a musical person, don't play an instrument or anything, but music is just really what completes a game for me, so a game's music is one of the very first things I look out for. In the case of Ratchet & Clank, yeah, it's really damn good. You've got these funky ass techno beats pumping in the background, getting you through these onslaughts of robots. My gosh, it's amazing. There's not much out there that's like this game's music, and I really commend David Bergeaud, whatever it is, for his work on the original Ratchet game's OSTs.
What inspires you to make the music that you've done? It's so lively in Ratchet and Clank, and we listen to it as if, regardless of if we're playing the game, some of us just love to listen to it on our, internal iTunes system. So tell us about where the magic comes from.
I think the magic comes from, first and foremost, the minds of these incredible designers that create this really extraordinary world that they give me year after year to work on. I really feed off of the visuals, I feed off the story, and I feed off the characters. I really have this very close relationship with this flappy-eared creature that goes around saving the galaxy, and over the years I've grown very attached to him and his little metallic tin can acolyte. So my inspiration really comes from the game. It comes from the characters of the game, and those are...
So yeah, not much else to say here. The game's music is just great. Alright guys, we're getting into spoiler territory. If you want to skip them, then just skip to the time on screen now. It is an old game, but there is an experience worth having here, so please, if you haven't played this game, skip ahead. So, along with being the dumbass of the story, Captain Quark is revealed to be helping out Chairman Drek by being the spokesman for his planet. This is actually revealed a bit too early on for my liking. I think the twist on planet Umbris alone is enough.
This is it. Quark is going to help us stop Chairman Drek.
Why, thank you, Clank. You've been most helpful.
But having that antenna silhouette in one of the first cutscenes, yeah, I don't know, man. Anyway, he unleashes this huge Blargian Snagglebeast on you, so you fight it with this kinda boring boss fight, not like most of the other bosses are much better. Later on at the Gemlik base, you fight Quark again with the jet plane, and he crashes down onto planet Oltanis. It's here where you find he's set up shop. This is also where you actually buy the Gadgetron PDA.
Public display of affection?
No, personal delivery assistant.
Anyway, that's basically the last we see of Quark in the game, going from a hero beloved by many to a washed up bum. Of course, even with Quark out of the picture, there's still Drek and his planet-destroying antics to take care of. On top of going to Drek's homeworld of Orxon, Clank also comes full circle and returns to his home planet of Kortu. After meeting his mom in a surprisingly heartwarming cutscene,
I will try to make you proud, Mom.
Ratchet learns that Drek plans to blow up Ratchet's planet Veldin with his deplanetizer device. He's doing this because it apparently occupies an ideal orbit for his planet. After infiltrating Drek's fleet, Ratchet also comes full circle, and we see his once bright and cheerful, albeit lonely home planet now dark, destroyed, and absolutely overtaken by hundreds of Blarg, tanks, and ships. This final gauntlet level is tough as nails, an awesome final challenge for the player. You encounter Drek and fight him with Giant Clank's almighty punches, but when that plan fails, you have to fight him on foot, swinging from swing shot targets, jumping on falling platforms, and making sure you don't fall down into the abyss. Shit, you then finally make it to the deplanetizer, where he activates the countdown, leaving you to stop it and run to the grind rails on the sides. This fight is pretty cool and all, especially just simply the scale of the fight for a game back in 2002. But I'll admit, it's not that easy if you don't have the blaster or Tesla Claw. Drek dies, yay, happy ending. Ratchet and Clank then make a kind of irresponsible decision. Drek accidentally flipped the deplanetizer while he was busy dying, so it's facing right up at the planet he was building. They then activate the deplanetizer and destroy it. But why? So many people likely lost their homes due to what Drek did, so it's probably wiser to just relocate everyone to the new planet. This shot also causes debris to fall from the planet, launching the duo away and causing Clank's arm to break. They fall, and then a really nice, heartwarming scene happens.
That was close. Thanks.
My arm appears to be badly damaged.
You'll be all right. Hey, tin can! Where do you think you're going? We, still need to fix that arm.
As I said earlier, it's just really nice to see Ratchet and Clank finally get along, because despite their differences, they end up having a really great friendship.
Oh, mommy.
Turn it off! Turn it off!
That's not all the game has to offer. Right after beating it, you can select to go back before you beat the final boss, or start a new game in challenge mode with all your current weapons and bolts. Challenge mode is essentially a new game plus, and it comes with some cool stuff. There's plenty of goodies to unlock, like cheat codes. I'm a sucker for just those big head codes and shit, man, clearly brought over from the Spyro games. You can also view the commercials for the game. My gosh, man, these commercials are just great. It's the developers dicking around with replicas of some of the game's weapons.
That is the Morph Array, and that, of course, is Jerry. The morph array is used in Ratchet and Clank to turn your enemies into chickens.
No, wait, before you do that, just explain to me how it's gonna work.
Oh, it worked! Jerry's a chicken! Are you sure we can turn him back? Jerry?
I remember when I was a naive-ass little kid, I believed that this one for the Devastator was actually real with that explosion and all. There's also a making-of video, giving some insight on the game's development. Pretty neat. There's the sketchbook, but I didn't really want to unlock it for this playthrough. I actually already 100%ed it on my PS2 copy, so I guess I'll show you guys there. Has some pretty interesting concept art for the game, and it's really nice to look back on, especially being a Ratchet & Clank fan like myself. The skill points only end up having one purpose, which is just to unlock some of the things in this menu. And, of course, we can't forget about the gold weapons. This is what the gold bullets are used for. Using a teleport on planet Nivalis, or even a little secret area on the Gamlik base, albeit it only has a few of them, you can find a selection of gold weapons, which are upgrades to some of your weapons at the cost of some normal and gold bolts. These are pretty cool, and a nice reward, though you do have to grind for them for a while to get them. Unless you like to cheat like me. Ratchet & Clank, while not as well known as Insomniac's previous endeavors, is an absolute classic. It introduced me to a series that's very important to me, with its captivating level design, excellent music, well-executed character arc, and of course, guns to blow shit up with. If you're interested in playing the game, please go ahead. Unlike our previous PlayStation review, Klonoa, which is like $200, Ratchet & Clank on PS2 is like $10, and the PS3 HD Trilogy is around $30. Go ahead and pick this one up if you can, there's no reason not to. Even if you're more into Nintendo or Xbox, don't worry, because this series really isn't that hard to get into. I encourage you all to give it a shot. Get it? Shot? Despite its various shortcomings, this is still my second favorite Ratchet & Clank game, and my favorite is also on the PS2. We've got 3 more games on the PS2 left to go, so when we get to it, I'll let you guys know. Please make sure you like the video if you enjoyed and comment telling me your thoughts. Also subscribe and turn on notifications because I'll be continuing this Ratchet & Clank marathon pretty soon, so keep an eye out for next time when we check out Ratchet & Clank Going Commando. Hopefully I'll see you all again soon. Bye.